Hello, how's it going? Today's video is on shifting your relationship to conflict. Shifting your relationship to conflict is so important because typically when we relate to conflict or the ways that we feel about conflict are negative. We look at conflict as a bad thing, we look at it as problematic, we look at it as meaning that there's something wrong with ourselves or with the person we're in relationships with. And when we see things that way, when we see it as bad and wrong, that typically coincides with negative emotions. So when conflict comes up, during the very times in which we would most benefit from not being in negative emotion, we get overtaken by these negative reactions, these negative emotions that make it much harder to deal with the conflict. So it means that we get triggered. And if we get triggered emotionally into our pain, into our fear, into judgment of our partner, into judgment of ourselves, into blame, into anger, into sadness, into frustration, into projections that the relationship isn't working, and that these conflicts will never be resolved, and that it's a problem that we're not having understanding on this topic at this time, that we're not seeing eye to eye, that we're not communicating. When we get triggered into those negative thoughts and emotions, then we become very disabled in our capacity to learn from the conflict, to manage it wisely, to navigate it, and to steer out of it, and to reach a point of mutual understanding. When one person is emotionally triggered, it's hard enough as it is to reach a point of mutual understanding with that person. When two people are emotionally triggered, whew, it gets a lot harder. And so by stopping or ceasing to see conflict as negative, as a bad thing, as a wrong thing, by not looking at our partner as bad for causing or appearing to cause conflict, we can actually remain calm, clear, and focused when the conflict comes up. And that's so important. If you consider professional athletes, if you consider NASA training astronauts, anyone performing in any way, shape, or form, their performance improves when they stay calm. And staying calm allows people to focus, to be more aware of their environment, to learn more, to absorb more information that they can then use constructively, and to navigate, communicate, respond, and act in very careful and precise and effective ways. People who stay calm during a free throw, for example, they tend to make the free throw more often than people who get very scared, nervous, and twitchy. And so, in the same way, if you get scared, nervous, and twitchy, when conflict starts to arise in your relationship, your capacity to deal with that conflict is going to reduce. Your capacity to learn from that conflict is going to reduce. And therefore, your capacity to heal it from your relationship so that it never comes back up again, so that you reach a point of mutual understanding that means that you break that pattern of conflict. It's going to be hard to achieve that, and that truly is possible. If we stay calm during conflict, we can start to see what's affecting it, what's contributing to it, what perspectives our partner is holding in place that's contributing to the conflict, what perspectives we're having in place that are contributing to the conflict. When we start to see those things like a map, we can start to map our way to resolving the conflict, to saying the things that need to be said, whether it's helping our partner feel safe, whether it's helping our partner understand that everything's okay in certain ways, or whether it's helping ourselves understand that everything's okay and helping ourselves feel safe. As we start to pick up on more information, become more self-aware, become more aware of what's going on in our partner during conflict, then we can optimally navigate it, say the things that need to be said, do the things that need to be done. And in that way, in an empowered way, we can make permanent change. Because if we've been reacting to conflict negatively over and over and over again, then we've been essentially fighting fire with fire. So if our partner says something that's triggering to us, that's judgmental or critical, and we react in a judgmental or critical fashion because it hurts our feelings, then we kind of take our opportunity to heal that conflict, and we bury it underneath a bunch of other conflict. Like if you were to walk up to someone on the street and slap them in the face, most people would slap that person right back. If someone were to walk up to you and slap you in the face, you'd probably slap them back, metaphorically speaking. And we do this in our relationships. Instead, if we don't slap them back, if instead we say, they must be in pain. I wonder why they slapped me in the face. I wonder what negative emotion and fear they're reacting to and then slapping me in the face as a result of. And we consciously respond instead. We say, hey, why'd you do that? What's going on? Are you okay? Then all of a sudden, our partner's going to be given a chance to reflect. And so by staying calm, by not getting triggered, by shifting our relationship to conflict, by no longer seeing it as a negative thing, we actually start to act as a mirror to our partner and for our partner, which helps them gain self-awareness, to learn why they were upset with us in the first place, to learn why they're doing the things they're doing. And it also gives us the space to understand why we're engaging in the conflict in the non-optimal ways in which we may have engaged in it in the past. And when two people start doing this, or at least when one person does, it's amazing how much progress can happen. Let's see what else there's to add here. If that doesn't happen, if both people then just get reactive, the conflict tends to get worse and worse. So like one slaps, the other punches, the other one kicks, things like that. And I mean, that can happen with words too. One can say a subtle criticism, the other one can say a much bigger one, then the other one can start yelling, then the other one can say I'm leaving, and then the other one can say I want a divorce. So conflict breeds conflict, it escalates. So if instead we take the leadership in our relationship and we don't bury conflict with more conflict, then we can prevent it from getting out of hand. We can prevent it from having very strong negative ripple effects in our lives and in our relationships, which are necessary. And we can actually learn from the conflict, because it's not, it's so hard to look back on a disagreement where so many negative things were said and to go through each one of them to understand what happened. If instead just one negative thing is said, and then that thing is responded to by the other partner with understanding and compassion, then all of a sudden we have simpler, bite-sized learning opportunities. And conflict really is a learning opportunity, because all of the conflict that we feel is an opportunity to understand a part of ourselves that is fighting or is not okay with whatever difference of opinion we have, or whatever we perceive not to be happening that we feel like we need to happen. And the more we can release our aversions and our attachments to things in our life, the more inner peace we can have, and the more empowered we can be to actually navigating our life in an empowered way. Like, for example, if you're really attached to making a free throw in basketball, which is just a shot in basketball, if you're really attached to it, or you're really averse to not making it, meaning you're really scared of missing it, then you're probably going to be trembling, you're probably going to be nervous, you're probably going to be projecting that all the bad things are going to happen if you don't make it. Whereas if you have no attachment or no aversion, simply a preference, then all of a sudden you're going to go up there, you're going to dribble the ball, bounce it a bit, and you're going to shoot it, and you're going to be calm, and your muscles are going to be relaxed, and you're going to be aware, and you're going to have consciousness on your side, and you'll be learning. And the same applies to relationship conflict. So when we get into relationship conflict, it's an opportunity to find those parts of us that are in pain, find those parts of us that are in negative emotion, and to understand, well, why are they in negative emotion? Why am I having these negative thoughts about the relationship? Why am I having these negative emotions about the relationship? Why am I projecting that all of these negative, bad things are happening? Why am I relating to conflict in this way? And if I shift my relationship to conflict, can my life get better? And of course it can, because one thing's for sure, and it's that for this point in time in our species development, conflict is inevitable. So if something's inevitable, looking at it as bad, wrong, or not liking it is not likely to lead to positive experiences in life. If something is inevitable, if you learn to love it, if you learn to at least accept it, then you can work with it. Like a mechanic who doesn't accept a car into his garage, if he rejects the car, or if you reject conflict in your life, if you judge it and avoid it, then how are you going to work on it? How are you going to resolve it? Now, the great poet, the great poet, that's such a typical way of saying things. I actually have only heard this quote from this poet and haven't read other things, although I've heard he's great. The poet Khalil Gibran lived a few hundred years ago, said that the pain you feel is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Which means that as we get into conflict in our relationships, as we get into pain in that conflict, that what's happening is that we're actually getting opportunities to uncover misunderstandings in ourselves about life. It means that once we truly gain complete understanding about ourselves and our lives, that we no longer experience pain. And that means that all the conflict in your life is actually helping you uncover these misunderstandings. It's helping you shine a flashlight on the misunderstandings in you that bring you pain. Because nobody can make you feel pain. Only you can choose to feel a certain negative emotion. Only you can choose to project certain negative things happening. Only you can make thoughts come into your head and choose to repeat them. So we hope that you see how empowering this is. We hope you see how beneficial it is to stop looking at conflict as a bad thing in your relationship. And that you see how that is the first step to starting to work with it and to improve it, to reduce it, to reduce its frequency, and to reduce its intensity. We hope you find this helpful. Please reach out and let us know. Hey!
Were you recording?
Yes, I am.
I'm so sorry.
Get the hell out of here!
Hold on, I am anyway. I have a call with a session. I have a session. I love you.
I love you too.
Sorry about that, babe.
That's okay.
I
I'm probably not going to edit this, so don't say anything that shouldn't be on the video. We hope that you find this helpful, and yeah, please contact us if you need help with this. One-on-one facilitation is really so important. It can make the difference between a lasting relationship and a divorce. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. It is simply what I've seen. And we hope that you find the website helpful. Again, we love to hear from you if you do. It is you that we do this for. Thank you very much. And see you around. And if you want more information like this beyond what we have on our website, beyond what we have on YouTube channels, a lot of this information comes from work that we've done with spiritual teacher John Jones. And he has two books, one called World Without Fear, and another one called Enter the Era of Empowerment. Both are excellent books. I also have a book on specifically managing conflict in relationships, and specifically this topic, and it's called Navigating Life from the Mountaintop. A conscious approach to managing conflict, blah, 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 blah. If you type in Navigating Life from the Mountaintop into Amazon, it'll come up. I hope you enjoy this material.